Hello and welcome to Church of the Beatitudes, both members and visitors. Life has certainly changed, but there are still some constants in our life, which includes faith and our services. Here at Church of the Beatitudes, we're a progressively minded community that believes that by coming together, we're empowered to make God's love real in tangible ways for others. This pandemic and call for social distancing has certainly changed how we worship. We can't be together right now in person, but we can still connect spiritually. So please join us as we worship virtually.
Welcome to Church of Beatitudes Online. If you're living in Arizona right now, I hope you're in air conditioning. This last week has been incredibly warm, and we have more to look forward to in this coming week. But this time right now can be your oasis. This can be your opportunity to, if you would, chill, to relax a little bit, and in that process, to become aware of the divine in our midst. If this is the first time you've joined us here at Church of the Beatitudes Online, a special welcome to you. If you would like to learn more about who we are, what's important to us, our values that drive what it is we do, you will see a number that you can text hello to. Text that, and we would be our honor to be able to send that information to you. So again, this is your oasis. This is your time to be able to be intentional by being centered and experiencing the divine in our midst. So please, relax and open yourself to this moment.
Do not abuse me, tenderly use me, soothing my scars. My health is your health, my wealth is your wealth, shining with promise, set among stars. God is our maker, do not deny God, challenge, defy God, but in this place, life is to cherish, there or we perish. I am your mother, tears on my face.
Tony, you need to be patient. Those are the words I heard my wife share with me this morning. My wife knows me. After living together for 36 years, she understands me. And I can be impatient, especially right now in the midst of this pandemic. I'm ready for the pandemic to be over yesterday. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of waiting for us to find a vaccine or a way of being effective in treating it. I'm tired of how it's infecting our economy and how it's impacting how we relate to each other. In essence, I'm tired of waiting. But in the midst of our waiting, we have the opportunity to learn some very powerful things. One of those things is to learn patience from nature. Hope Jaron wrote a piece, and she entitled it, "A Seed Knows How to Wait." As you listen to it, compare those two, the waiting that you do and the waiting that a seed does and see what lesson we might learn together. Most seeds wait for several years before starting to grow. In fact, a cherry tree can wait for 100 years with no problem. Now, what exactly each seed is waiting for is known only to that particular seed. Some unique trigger, a combination of temperature, moisture, light, and many other things, is required to convince a seed to jump off the deep end and take a chance, to take its one and only chance to grow. A seed is alive while it waits. Every acorn on the ground is just as alive as the 300-year-old oak tree that towers above it. Neither the seed nor the old oak is actually growing. They are both just waiting. Now, their waiting differs in that the seed is waiting to flourish and grow while the tree is waiting to die. When you visit a forest, you probably tend to look up at the plants that have grown so much taller than you could ever be. You probably don't look down where just beneath your single footprint lies between 100 and 1,000 seeds, each one alive and waiting. When you are in the forest, for every tree that you see, there are no less than 3 million more trees waiting in the soil, fervently wishing to be. Each beginning is the end of a waiting. We are each given exactly one chance to be. Each of us is both impossible and inevitable. Every replete tree was first a seed that waited.
La pauvre fleur disait au papillon céleste, ne fouille pas.
Leviticus chapter 25, 1 through 7, we hear these words. The Lord said to Moses at Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I'm going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years, sow your fields, and for 6 years, prune your vineyards and gather their crops. But in the 7th year, the land is to have a year of Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not reap what grows of itself or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you, for yourself, your male and female servants, and the hired worker and temporary resident who live among you, as well as your livestock and the wild animals in the land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten."
Nature has and will continue to be transformed by humans. But that doesn't mean that we can control everything. Rather, I propose that we begin to see ourselves included within nature and know that we all depend on this science of relationships. How we relate to nature often mirrors how we relate to one another. And if you believe this to be true, there are unhealthy and healthy ways that this occurs. I'm going to cover that in 2 parts today. Part 1, unhealthy relationships, nature. In recent history, fish, poultry, and cattle industries have controlled the way in which those are fed, the way they are raised, the way they are fattened, killed, and then packaged within the same factory. These animals never get a chance to live, eat, graze, or mate in their natural environment. To learn more about this impact on our relationship with animals, I really suggest reading Tracy Stewart's book, Do Unto Others, a friendly guide to how animals live and how we can make their lives better. It focuses on living respectfully with many animals such as dogs, goats, and even spiders. We know that agriculture, as we currently practice it, is the largest threat to biodiversity and the ecosystem function of any human activity. And we know that agriculture is also the largest consumer of a precious resource, and that is water. If you've ever watched The Wolf of Wall Street, you know at the end that the next big thing that they are looking to trade on the stock market or even to own are the rights to water. And one final thought about this type of farming and agriculture that the world has embraced. Know that the way that we do this work has led to new epidemics and the reemergence of old diseases. Where we don't know the direct impacts of the environment due to COVID-19, what we can say is that there has been a weakening of climate policies, deforestation, and swaths of agricultural factory workers who have contracted COVID-19. Brazil has been hit hard by COVID-19, and while they've been focusing on controlling the virus, illegal loggers and miners have taken advantage of the situation to go into the Amazon to cut down large parts of it. Between January and April, 464 miles of the rainforest were destroyed. That's 55% more than was destroyed last year for the same reason. The cleared area will be burned and made suitable for cattle grazing, which could increase the chance of wildfires. It did last year, if you remember, that about 3,500 square miles burned in the Amazon rainforest. Scientists have said that cattle ranching in the Amazon is numerous and harmful to our environment. And some of the consequences are our economic, social, and ecological grounds. That means deforestation, land concentration, and a small contribution to the actual regional economy and development. Here in the United States, the current administration recently signed an executive order that enables federal agencies to waive environmental review for infrastructure projects such as highways, pipelines, and all in the name to speed our economic recovery. That executive order actually weakens the National Environmental Policy Act. That act itself is what requires government agencies to conduct a thorough review of the potential environmental and public health impacts before a project is approved. And it allows voters and citizens and local communities to weigh in. Let's not forget the effects of that type of behavior impact those who are still drinking and bathing in lead-filled waters in Flint, Michigan. Our objectifying interest in land and its products suggests a profound disengagement from the vitality of all of creation. Our relationship to nature often mirrors our relationships with people. As we know, the Black experience in the Western Hemisphere was born of exploitation, just like the fertile ground and territories of America were in the past and continue to be exploited. And since enduring this forced migration, Black people have interacted and developed, cultivated, and loved relationships with the land and with farming. They've made sense of their experiences. But yet, since the end of slavery, these Black folks have experienced racism on many levels, in particular to this, the theft of land, farmland. In 1920, nearly 1 million Black farmers worked on 41 million acres, making up a seventh of the farm owners. Today, that's just about 49,000 of them that remain, making up just a little over 1% of the nation's farm owners. That's a 90% loss of revenue, of culture, of land in just 100 years. The impacts of objectifying land and people as it relates to an indigenous perspective can be seen that 80% of the world's biodiversity is actually only on 25% of the land. And within that, only 5% of the indigenous communities own or work on that land. Agricultural and food industry employees are given the label of essential workers during COVID-19, and yet they put their lives at risk for $12.42 an hour. That's less than $26,000 a year. Together, legal and undocumented immigrants make up nearly a quarter of the nation's 8.2 million workers within our food industries. And immigrants account for more than a quarter of those workers in the agricultural sector. They have the highest representation in any industry there. This is really important. I throw all of these statistics at you because I want us to be aware of the foundation of how far our relationship with nature mirrors our relationship with humans. Many of those communities I just mentioned live without livable wages, adequate health care, if any health care at all, and inadequate housing. As we become increasingly aware of the catastrophic effects of environmental degradation, It's important for us to think more deeply about the interconnectedness of racial and class politics when we talk about our unhealthy relationship with nature. Part 2, our healthy relationships. If we mirror nature, perhaps our relationships with nature would be healthier. In the Old Testament, we see many poetic images of land and nature. We also learn that the descendants of Israel were given not a land, but the use of land with instructions on how to care for it. In Leviticus, land wasn't a means to an end. Agrarian laws were created to protect earth and our relationship to it. In Leviticus 25, the Lord instructs Israel on the sabbatical year. I'm paraphrasing a couple verses here. When you enter the land that I am giving you, the land shall observe a Sabbath for the Lord. 6 years you sow and prune and gather, but in the 7th year there will be a Sabbath of complete rest of the land. Nature poet Wendell Berry makes a comparison of work and Sabbath in a post-industrial revolution when he states, "The industrial economy must never rest. There's no such thing as enough, and everybody and everything is weary. Oh, we are so weary, and there is no rest." Perhaps we should take a lesson from Leviticus 25. In a recent article by Southwest Folklife Alliance, they interview a Hopi farmer about dry farming. And he says out here, the land is yielding, but it has to be yielded in a way that means it is respected. It involves stewardship, reverence, and it's about a faith and a belief system that allows us to fully involve and believe in everything that's around us. This respect and reverence becomes clear when I see people out here planting our corn. I can feel a strength in that. Corn is not just food. It's seed for future corn, and it's our spiritual survival. Without it, we would not be here. A beautiful visual example of healthy relationships that nature provides for us can actually be seen in this video. Watch closely.
I'm in kindergarten and my name is Jasper. I'm in kindergarten and my name is Leica.
I'm in kindergarten and my name's Atticus.
I'm in kindergarten and my name's Skylar. And my name's Lindsay.
And I'm Maya from the Highfield Center for Composting.
We are going to teach you how to compost at your school.
What is compost? Compost is a pile of green organic matter, like food, garden waste, or manure, that has been mixed with brown organic matter, such as leaves, straw, or wood chips. Over time, the compost pile decomposes or breaks down into soil. Billions of tiny creatures help with this breakdown, including worms and fungus, and bacteria. Compost is very rich in nutrients and can be used in gardens and fields to grow crops and to heal soil. And why should we compost?
Compost helps our world so it doesn't be all just loaded with trash.
Garbage doesn't get used like compost does because garbage goes into a big pile wherever that is.
These piles are called landfills. When you throw your food into the garbage, this is where it ends up. Landfills seriously affect our planet's air and our water. When sent to a landfill, leftover food, also known as food scraps, will produce a gas called methane. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that goes into our air and contributes to global warming in a big way. Greenhouse gases trap the sun's heat in our atmosphere and warm up our planet. Hotter temperatures can lead to melting ice caps, rises in sea level, and animals losing their homes. There is a lot of water in food, and when food scraps are put into the landfill, The water from the food combines with all the other items in the landfill to create a toxic sludge called leachate. Leachate can leak into groundwater and get into our rivers and lakes, harming the creatures that live there and dirtying the water that we drink or swim in. When we compost our food scraps, instead of sending them to the landfill, we reduce both the amount of methane and leachate created. But also, we conserve space in our limited landfills. In short, composting is much better for our planet. A closed food cycle is created by keeping food scraps out of the landfill. Food is grown, eaten, and then the food scraps are composted back into the soil to grow more food.
Composting. Who knew I was going to go to composting? Well, composting is the combining of varying and often unthought of materials. These unlikely things come together and form dirt, with a little help from science, of course. And it's transformed into a material that provides a healthy and nutrient foundation for what's next. Another great example of nature demonstrating the beauty of healthy relationships is the relationship between three common crops that we have here in the Southwest and in Mexico. It's known as the three sisters: corn, beans, and squash. The corn provides trellises for the beans. The squash provides leaves to discourage weeds and protects from water being over-evaporated. And then the beans, they fix the nitrogen that enhances the soil's fertileness for all three of those crops. At a basic level, the most important thing that can be done for the land is to pay attention to it, to learn from it, and of course, care for it while trying to be in relationship with it. If we mirror nature, our relationships with one another will be healthier. In 2005, there was a small farming community in Cedar Grove, North Carolina, and they experienced a tragic murder of a town treasure, a beloved man who owned a local store that the entire community went and hung out at and supported. The local United Methodist Church decided to hold a vigil to honor this man. And there was a Black woman who was at that vigil. She had never seen the diversity of the people to come out and support anything, and she felt inspired. So she decided to donate 5 acres of her land to the United Methodist Church in order to begin the reconciliation process between the community as well as with the land. So in partnership with this church, the land was converted to a community garden that was available for everyone, the migrants, the locals, both Black and white, and the spiritual and non-spiritual believers. It was a gesture of living in harmony with one's community and with the land. The woman is said to believe that planting gardens and seeking peace were symbolic gestures, like sowing beans with your corn and marigolds with your tomato. She believed that that is exactly the kind of companion planting that churches should be doing. Imagine this: neighbors working together in complex times and situations to form or cultivate a better world for now and for those who come after us. Let's go back to the story of composting very quickly. Unlikely things coming together to form dirt. Scraps, throwaways, things that nobody wants, coming together to form dirt that's full of nutrients to help new things grow and transform into material that provides the foundation again for what's next, our future. If we as citizens, compost of the world, do not affirm the dignity of nature, we must ask ourselves, why not? Is it that we lack the healthy imagination to see and feel as we should? This moment is such a special moment for all of us. This moment requires more of us to give more of ourselves and more time to strive for something greater. What could it look like for us to move forward and affirm the dignity of nature and one another? Moving forward, I hope that each of us can look at nature as a model of how to have healthy relationships with it, and of course, with one another. Amen.
Many a dream has died. Like a tree planted by the water, we never will run dry. So living water flowing through, God, we thirst for more of you. Fill our hearts and flood our souls with one desire, just to know run and hide. We know we were made for so much more than ordinary lives. It's time for us to more than just survive. We were made to thrive. Digging deep to know our Father's heart. Into the world we're reaching out to show them who you are. So living water flowing through, God, we thirst for more of you. Fill our hearts and flood our souls with one desire. Just to know you and to make you known, we lift your name on high. Shine like the sun, make darkness run and hide. We know we were made for so much more than ordinary lives. It's time for us to more than just survive. We were made to thrive. Joy unspeakable, faith unsinkable, love unstoppable, anything is possible. Joy unspeakable, faith unsinkable, love unstoppable, anything is possible. Just to know you and to make you known, we lift your name on high. Shine like the sun, make darkness run and hide. We know we were made for so much more than ordinary lives. It's time for us to more than just survive. We were made to thrive.
hear these words of our prayer. The journeys of our lives are never fully charted. There come to each of us deserts to cross, barren stretches, where the green edge on the horizon may be our destination, or perhaps an oasis on our way, or even a mirage that beckons only to leave us lost. When fear grips the heart, or despair bows the head, may we bend as heart and head lead us down to touch the ground beneath our feet. May we scoop some sand into our hands and receive what the sand would teach us. The sand holds the warmth of the sun when the sun has left our sight. In the same way, it holds the cool of the night when the stars have faded. Hidden among its grains are tiny seeds at rest and waiting, dormant yet undefeated. Desert flowers, they endure, moistened by our tears and by the rains which come to end even the longest drought. They send down roots and they bloom. May we believe in those seeds and in the seeds within us. May we remember in our dry seasons that we too are desert flowers. Amen.
In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until its season. Something God alone can see.
There's a song in every silence, singing word and melody. There's a dawn for every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, what it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see.
In our end is our beginning, in our time infinity. In our doubts there is believing, in our life eternity. In our death a resurrection, at the last a victory, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see.
It has been our honor and privilege to have you here with us during this time of worship. As you go throughout this week, I invite you to take these blessings with you. May you be blessed with a sense of serenity to accept those things in your life that, yeah, you would like to change, but you can't right now. May you also be blessed with a sense of courage courage to change those things that you can change and are within your ability to change. And may you also be blessed with a sense of love, a spirit of love that I believe exists within you, and that you can tap into the same way that Jesus tapped into it through the Spirit, and that Spirit is available to you and I also. So may you be blessed with that spirit of love, that it will come out of you and through you make love real for those people in your life. Amen.
Make God's love real. Make God's love real. Today, tomorrow, and every day. Make God's love real.
This week at Beatitudes Online, we have a ton of ways for you to connect. The first one is, I want to remind you that since the start of this pandemic, we have been doing something called Journeying Through COVID-19. Each week, you receive several prompts and/or meditations or prayers through email, and you're invited to add to your journal, respond back by replying all to everyone, engaging in much deeper thought and conversation. Either way, it's been an honor and a ridiculous amount of fun to develop these prompts, to get your mind thinking and finding new ways for us to connect. So if you're interested in journeying through COVID-19, just please reach out to Janelle at media@beatitudeschurch.com. I'm sorry, .org, not .com. We're a nonprofit. We're a church. It's .org. We encourage you to join us through Zoom. If it's something you haven't done before, please try it. It's easier to make an informed decision and feel better about yourself afterwards. And I guarantee that it is a ton of fun. And if you're all zoomed out, it's okay. I am all zoomed out as well. But I make sure that I try to tune in every week for these opportunities because it has provided so much healing and respite and laughter, much needed laughter during these times. The best way you can connect with us, again, is through Zoom on Sundays right after this service. We have our Ruminate that goes from 9 o'clock until sometimes it goes into Tuesdays. Just kidding. It's usually about 75 minutes. And this week, our topic is Christian gender bias in our culture. I'm going to make sure I'm there for that one. And at 4 o'clock on Sunday, you can join us if you're in grades 1 through 6 for our virtual summer camp. And at 7, grades 7 through 12th grade can join us for their virtual summer camp Zoom gathering. And then at 5:30, there is a Soul Seeds gathering for young adults. And of course, our favorite, I know Janelle just loves our Wednesday nights Beatitude booths. Come together, join us at 6 o'clock. Be prepared to laugh and think of things that you don't even think you would ever either remember or think of. But it's an opportunity for us to develop and cultivate deeper relationships. We really do miss you. But this is such a wonderful moment for us to go into the future, to zoom into our lives with one another. We look forward to seeing you at one of the many Zoom events or through journeying through COVID-19. Peace and blessings to you all. Have a wonderful week.
For those of you who are watching right now, this is Ryan. Ryan, come up here real quick. The Lone Ranger, the masked man, the guy that is responsible for you seeing this right now.
We'd like to thank you for joining our service today, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully in person sometime soon at a worship on campus. And first-time visitors, you are invited and welcome anytime. These are tough economic times with tough economic decisions for all of us, but the church needs our contributions, our gifts, whatever we are able to give in order for the church to continue its mission and its message. And the church is making it as convenient as possible. You could go online with a one-time gift, go to beatitudeschurch.org, or you could even set up automatic payments through your bank. Whatever's easiest and whatever you can contribute would obviously be greatly appreciated. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call the church office. And we'll see you virtually again for another worship next Sunday at 10 a.m. Beatitudes Church, making God's love real.